Hello everyone, I am Silver. It is actually Monday, the 6th of June. Thank you for those that are coming back to this episode, and even for those that have actually tried me out for the first time. Thank you again for everyone who left comments or concerns or anything about the last episode. I do appreciate those. Thank you again. I know the volume on the audio itself, the very beginning, was definitely off. That I may have to play with and see if I can get that fixed. The program I'm using doesn't allow for too much in the way of changing that audio. So now that the quote unquote excuses are over with, especially with the audio, let me go on to my current works in progress. I do have two different categories this week, those that I am currently working on and those that I kind of have put aside because, they're just not calling my name anymore. We're going to start off with the ones that I'm currently working on. As I'm podcasting, I am actually working on what is a baby blanket for a work supervisor. It's going to be out of the pattern of the grandma's favorite washcloth, but I will be going up to 144 stitches wide before doing the decreases, which is the part I'm actually currently working on. The yarn that I'm actually using is very pretty. It has a little bit of the blues, a little bit of the greens, has some yellows and pinks. So it's got the traditional and non-traditional baby colors, which is something that I really enjoyed. And I actually started this probably about 5 minutes before I figured out that she was actually having a baby girl. So that's always good news for her. So congratulations, Mary. I know you're not listening, but I still have to say congratulations anyway. This particular blanket, I am using the Bernat Baby Sport in the Baby Ombre colorway. I'll show pictures of what I'm currently working on the web, don't worry. I am working on my US7, which is a 4.5 millimeter straight needles. I had somebody that asked me about that question. I've been using these needles, God, I think since the first time I realized they needed multiple sets and multiple sizes. So I've been just using them probably on every washcloth I've made in the past couple of years. So I've had them at least that long. The second thing that I've been working on pretty actively is the Yowza Weight Shawl #1. That is by Susan B. Anderson. It's out of the Drunken Watermelon colorway, which is a Yowza skein by Miss Bats. Absolutely gorgeous. Everyone I've ever showed it to at work, they do appreciate the colors. And it kind of lives up to its name of being a drunken watermelon. You'll see what I mean. I'll put up photos. Don't worry about that. I'm doing that on my Chigu red lace needles. It's the size 9, which is a 5.5 millimeter needle. They are the 40-inch needle weight. Sorry, 40-inch circular needles that I'm using. I do apologize about that. Bad costs are a word. Anyway, the third thing that I've been currently working on is actually the mermaid tail. It is the pattern called Ladies Mermaid Tail Lapghan. It's by Angie Hartley. It is in two different colors. That I have the grape purple and rosewood colorways of the Karen Simply Soft yarn. That is being made on US 11s, which is an 8 millimeter circular needle. They are 40-inch cable long. Just so you know, those I've also had for a few years, so I don't even know if they are indeed my true 11s that I have, but they're working out pretty good. They're not snagging on the yarn, which is all I can ask for. Now on to the things that I did put a couple stitches in the very beginning of the week, but then just put them aside. The first one is the tan and red color affection that I've been working on. I pretty much did 6 rotations of the second color, and then I just stopped calling my name. Don't know why. That is going to be the Color Affection by Vera Valimaki. Yes, I got it this time, I promise. It's going to be in 3 colorways of Dream and Color Smushy. That would be the Beater Peeps, Lipstick Lava, and Miami Red. That particular one is being made on US size 2 needles, which is a 2.5 millimeter needles on my 60-inch red lace Chigu Cirques. Actually, so far it actually looks good. It's been calling my name over the past couple days, but I know I have a few client things to make first before I get back to what it's actually, I want to be working on. The other thing that I put a little bit of work into was the blurred line socks. the one that is for one of my coworkers. The pattern is Blurred Lines by Megan Williams. It's very pretty. I actually put the heel in on that one, and I just found myself stumped with the way it's written. Don't get me wrong, the pattern is well written. It's just a matter of me not being in the headspace to completely make it work for the way that I think, which is, I heard, completely completely weird. But yeah, anyway, the colorway on the yarn, it's actually I guess it's why they call it the blues yarn. It's actually lollipop yarn. Those are also being made on size 2.5 millimeter needles. I'm using two 16-inch circs. It's the way that I was taught, or that I actually taught myself, and I just kind of gone from there. And that's pretty much my method of choice. It's my jam, y'all. Alright, let's move on to Stash Dash 2016. You'll be glad to know that I am up to 3,206 yards of yarn made into projects. As of right now, that meterage stands at 2,931.566. And yes, I do have to be very specific. The conversion is very specific as well, but also it helps me kind of keep an eye on how much more I have to go, which is at this point quite a bit, but it's not overwhelming. It just says, okay, I have to get this much done, so let's just keep going and keep moving, and that's actually a very good motivator for me this week. So that's always a good sign. Let's see, with that yarn, and with that total, there are 3 projects that I finished this week, and that counted for that. The first one is going to be the Girl of the 80s Socks, as I called it on my Ravelry page. It's the Afterthought Heel pattern by Lala, and that was out of the 80s colorway by Friday Studios. Oh my god, it is very 80s-tastic. It is the purples, it's got some greens and some yellows. It pretty much called my name, and it reminded me of those leg warmers from the 80s, let me tell you. Sorry, my voice is a little rough right now. The second item that I finished was a gray and purple color affection. That was out of 3 different colors of Miss Bab's Yummy yarn. One was Oxidized Silver, the second one was Deep Thoughts, and the last one was You Rang, which was the purple. And that's why I called it the grays and purples, because it kind of looks like it's all gray. But no, the last color is indeed purple. So don't let the pictures fool you. I'll put a picture in right there on our notes. Okay. And the last thing that I actually finished this week was the Magrathea pattern by Martina Ben. It's actually in a 5 skein gradient by Leading Men Fiber Arts. It's actually Fiber Arts. It's very blue and it's very pretty, and I could not wait for Stashes to begin to start that. It is probably the laciest thing that I've made for quite some time, especially in a fingering weight yarn. So it is amazing, and I cannot wait to start wearing that out in public with different things. So that's always awesome. Alright, so needle adjacent, I have plans for my work supervisor and her mini baby shower that we will put for her. I'm going to make 2 different Milos. One is going to be for the baby and for the baby's older sister. I want to make something that will match. I know that they will definitely enjoy that. The other thing that I will be doing is a bunch of washcloths for that, just to match the blanket that I'm currently working on. There will probably be many more projects from Stash Dash that will catch my fancy, and I will go ahead and do those. Those are definitely needle adjacent. And then the other thing that I definitely should put in this category would be the other socks for the other coworker that won the Crazy Sock Prize. She finally gave me a cutout of her foot this week so I can get further than the toe on that one, and I could not wait to get started on that. That is something that I was going to wait until the beginning of this week. Let's see. This week, I'm going to start a new section called Any Questions. I'm just going to be opening up a thread in our group on Ravelry, It's just titled Any Questions. Please feel free to add any questions that you may have for me. Sometimes they can be knitting related, or if they're just something that you heard me talk about on the podcast as well. I'll answer as well as I am able to. Just remember, I am not the be all end all about every subject that you may ask, but I will do my best. This week, I'm actually going to discuss how my decisions on my sock knitting method came about. Pure and simple, I do knit with two 16-inch circulars. It's just how I've always done it. And the reason being is that my grandmother actually suggested to me that it may be the best based on what I had told her about the, using DPNs is kind of fiddly for me. And I didn't really want to mess up the socks and have to add to, a new concept of making socks on the DPNs at the same time. So her suggestion and her help with regards to that was perfect. She had also said that that was her favorite method as well. The laddering on that was minimal compared to her also using DPNs. So I took her advice like any good granddaughter would do. And the rest, they say, is history. Let's see, with my enabling this week, no, I'm actually still on a yarn diet until the end of Stash Dash, so I am painfully saying no to all the pretties this week. Unfortunately, there were a couple of updates that I had really had some yarn on, with my eyes on, but I had to do it. It hurt me, but I had to do it because, yarn diet and goals of finishing up yarn in my stash was a lot more important to me than buying more pretties. Sorry to all those that I caught. Anyway, this week in Obsessions, I actually have a new podcast that I want to talk to y'all about. I did find him on Ravelry on YouTube, and he kind of rambles about how dumb people can be when posting on social media outlets. He does it in such a way that part of it's offensive, but part of it's kind of funny at the same time. So you're like, oh wow, like I never realized how much poor grammar choices people use when they're posting on social media. Just be aware he does swear a little bit, so if you're easily offended by that, you may want to give it a skip. But I do urge you to just go ahead and give him a try, especially if you've always wondered about poor grammar choices and, just wanting to be laughing at it instead of upset by it. Especially if you're an English major or you've even noticed this in society as a large. I'll be linking that directly in my podcast notes on my blog there. The second thing I've been equally obsessed with this week is the watermelon culottes again. I've only had one, but it made me happier, so yeah. It made me a lot happier than you think it should have been. Alright, so what you watching, Silver? Actually, this week was all about, which actually was about a season of Glee. I'm finally getting on the boat. It's almost a year after the show is over, but I've been obsessed with catching up, thanks to the power of Netflix. The second thing, I've actually been catching up on multiple shows. The Dead Files, Supernatural, and Dancing with the Stars have been my jam this week. Yes, Dancing with the Stars ended about 2 weeks ago, and I finally got a chance to watch the season finale probably about a half hour before I started the podcast tonight. So, yay, Niles! Yay! Yay! Anyway, watching a few movies also this week. Part of the marathon that happened during the Memorial Day weekend with Disney Channel and their 100 original movies. There's a lot that I recorded on my DVR, just watched a couple. Hopefully I can empty out my DVR soon with all of those that are left. This week also, I'm going to make a mention, I do watch a lot of podcasts. I did catch up with the Knit Girls this week in a snitch, Cultivate and Create. Around the Twist and the Sockenit Zombies. They are absolutely awesome. I love their podcast, and I think you should try them out if you haven't already. There are others that I am addicted to. I didn't mention mostly because I have not caught up with them in quite a bit, and I will let you know how their new podcasts have come up once I finally get a chance to watch them. And the reason I haven't been watching a lot of TV and shows besides those four this week is I've actually been reading a lot more. I decided after last week that I was pretty light in the reading category, and I wanted to fix that. I actually did manage to get a chance to finish 3 books this week. 2 from the Anita Blake series that I mentioned last week. One was Kiss the Dead, and the second one was Dancing. The reason there was 2 this week, and I'm going to give you a big heads up. The second book that I read, Dancing, was kind of an excerpt. It was supposed to be between the 2 books in the series, and it was just meant to be kind of light and fluff, and I really liked it. It showed off Nathaniel's, who is one of the minor characters, his ability to make a party come to life with his dancing skills, and it's pretty amazing. And I do recommend the series, so start from scratch if you can. Get to know the characters, and then you'll know who I'm talking about and why the little miniature books in between sometimes are very important to read and and how you can understand the characters better. The second series that I've been listening to, the Dark Tower series, I did end up finishing Wizard and Glass this week. I realized that I really liked the story and that there was no reason for me to ration it out, so to speak. And that is why I continue to listen to that series. It is very amazing. It's pretty much the story of this one gunslinger who is he's just older than dirt, essentially, and he's chasing after his elusive Dark Tower, and in order to save the world, he has to save the tower. And he is met by many characters it's called a quartet, but basically a group of people that he gets together with, and they do help him. And the story of how he comes to be, how he comes to be the person that he has become, and even those that he travels with, a little bit about them. And there's a lot of background in Wizard and Glass, and that is why it was 27 hours to listen to. Mind you, I didn't mind the 27 hours. I was enjoying the entire thing. I almost didn't want to put it down toward the end. I even brought it to work a couple times with the intention of listening on my breaks, which, didn't really happen, but that's another story altogether. Moving on to what I'm currently reading, I actually did pick up Affliction, which is the next book in the Anita Blake series by Laurell K. Hamilton. I'm also listening now to The Wind Through the Keyhole, which is actually a book between Wizard and Glass and the next book in that series. The reason that I actually saw that Stephen King is reading this himself. So far, so good. I'm actually enjoying it. It's nice to know that Stephen King knows there was some extra storyline that needed to go between Wizard and Glass and the next story. And his take on what the characters should sound like are even better. Let's just say I've never read it before, so it'll be a great listen. And as far as I can tell, right now, it's awesome! Anyway, sorry if that screech kind of blew out your eardrums there. Let's see. As to writing this week, the only writing that I've been able to accomplish this week were the reviews on the books that I finished. I really haven't been in the headspace recently to do much other writing, even in the category of writing out the pattern. So that didn't end up getting released this week, which I do apologize to my business partner, Mercury, for as well, because I was supposed to be putting that out in the first. Sorry again. Let's see. And so I can be found on several social medias. First, I've actually set up the show page on Ravelry, and I can be found at SilverLuna2112 there. On Instagram, I am both Silver Streets and Silver's Dreamland. Twitter, I am at Silver's Knitting. I do tend to read through all my messages as soon as I possibly can. If you don't hear from me within 24 hours, like I mentioned last week, please just feel free to email me directly at silversdreamland@gmail.com, and I should actually get back to you as soon as I possibly can. I'm going to actually leave you with a thought I had this week based on a quote that I read in one of my favorite series, the Harry Potter series. Happiness can be found even in the darkest of times if one only remembers to turn on the light. And that was said by Albus Dumbledore. Smartest words I ever heard. This week, remember to do what makes you happy and don't let the rest bog you down. Well, until next week, bye everyone.